From Sweden, Ninjas in Pajamas. Forest. Get Right. Freiburg. Exist. Alu. Likely the most popular team in all of Counter-Strike history, NIP's 87-0 run came to an end early in 2014.
There's Forest above, that's next to drop. Bomb's down in an awkward position as well, and now he'll collect Dennis. He's gonna get more, it's troubly to drop, but Crystal finally answers him from the top.
As a result, roster changes came, and the famous five had to depart ways with Faflaren. After a brief stint and some decent performances with Michael Ailey, the team now seems settled on Alu, the first Finnish player in the roster for a number of years. Recent performances have been consistent, but wins have been scarce. What perpetually was first place has now seemed to only come to seconds. Star Ladder falling short on Envious. ESL Katowice, second place again, this time to Fnatic. MLG Aspen, the story was the same, and it was the French team again that seems to be getting the upper hand on them during offline matches that forced them to get only the silver medal, the first medals handed out in the history of Counter-Strike. In the group stages, the trend was no different, starting off brilliantly against Penta.
Keep back Penta, taking out Dennis as well, leaving one last remaining player, which Get Right.
Indeed, and already there, but Forest has Crystal, that's your one man down.
Yeah, they know there's more coming, but they need to try and bring down. Dennis is the first one.
Oh,
nice
shooting.
shot. And the smoke, yep, and Get Right in the perfect corner. Able to pick up two, looking for the third. He's going to get one too. And it's just a horrible choke point. Penta trying to go the slow, sneaky, beaky push through the mid doors.
VP, the same story.
Alu's got one, make it two, as he gets the AWP up above and make it a third. Great play from him. Forget everything I said. But he can't do anything. Neo's going to have to play it 1 versus 1. And again, there you go, Freiburg, both of them. Great reactions and spray control.
A double map victory in a best of 3. But again, the French squad stood them up, and they couldn't actually pull any maps off of them. And as a result, had to drop out of the red group and go to the last chance qualifier. In the last chance qualifier, they were given a best of 5 chance to directly get invited in only 1 match against Fnatic. They made no mistake in doing it. 3-1 were the map scores, as Fnatic only picked up Cobble, a map they've worked extremely hard to get the advantage on, while NIP took the fight on Inferno, Cash, and Mirage. 3 maps that arguably Fnatic would be better on. However, the Ninjas came out and the magic prevailed. They secured the 3rd spot. From Denmark, Team Solo Mid. Zipnix, Device, Dupree, Cajun B, and Kerrigan. Coming off a string of recent performances, including a 3rd place at MLG in Aspen, 1st at the 99 Damage Masters. They were only a quarter-finalist in Katowice, but then in Star Ladder, it was 3rd, and a week later, 2nd in Copenhagen. There's only one place better they want to go here this weekend at DreamHack, and that's to the top step. As one of the 6 invited teams to the 8-team qualifying stage, the performances in the group were nothing short of amazing. A 2-0 win over Na'Vi to start things off that included a stylish 1v5 nice from Device on Inferno.
So are we going to get this? How many times in this league are we going to get a 1v5 knife? Zipnix got the counter kill, but it wasn't enough this time, though. Oh, nice nade.
Oh, man. Yeah. Zipnix has really done a fantastic job of controlling the mid. And with that AK, they just wait for them to come up through short. Dupree takes 3 heads.
Damage done from the scout. I think if that had been an op, there would be hardly anyone left standing, but Kerrigan still...
He would continue that performance all game long with some massive frags that led them to the win. In the upper bracket final, they met the Swedes, Fnatic. On Dust2, Cajun B secured the lead on the CT side with 3 consecutive kills in 3 consecutive rounds, switching the B to a 3 in his name. Illuminati confirmed.
2. He's going to get the 3rd one as well.
3 for 3. Cajun 3 in 3 straight rounds. It's done.
Cash was similar. It started out hard for the Denmark side, as they had to make sure the economy stayed broken for Fnatic. The double op setup that they run is so strong, and Kerrigan's leadership knew it. They took the lead, and in the end, the game 16-11. In beating Fnatic, they awaited the winner of either Fnatic or Na'Vi in the lower bracket final for a direct invite into DreamHack Bucharest. In the end, it was a rematch against Fnatic. The map pool entirely favored the Swedes. Inferno, one of their best maps. Cobble, the map they dominate on. And again, Cash, where their CT side double op setup is a threat to any team. It started out well for TSM. Some mistakes in the aggressive buys from Fnatic gave them an early lead, and they never looked back. Despite being down 10-5 at halftime on the first map, the Danes rallied and came back for a 16-14 great team effort that gave them map number 1. Cobble proved to be the toughest challenge for TSM. Fnatic was completely composed on their terrorist side. Fakes from Olaf allowed them to come into either bomb site completely at will, and the rotation seemed a little bit lackluster from the Denmark squad. However, they rallied back, and despite some good rounds, it all came down to Fnatic's great performance. However, on Cash, it was similar to the upper bracket final. The economy had to stay weak, Kerrigan knew so, and despite Fnatic starting out on the CT side, they never got to run their double op setup. As a result, when it all came down to the wire in the end, TSM squeaked out another narrow victory and gave themselves a direct invite to DreamHack Bucharest. From Sweden, Team Fnatic. Flusha, JW, Pronax, Olaf Meister, and Crims. Either hate it or love it, there's no doubt about it, Fnatic is one of the top teams in the world, if not the #1 team. In 2015, they started off a little bit shaky, in fact, with a 4th place finish at MLG Aspen, despite coming off the win at both ESEA LAN and DreamHack Winter just months prior. However, things turned around quickly. At ESL 1 in Poland, they became the first team to win 2 majors, and they did so in a dominating fashion, despite a close final against NIP. However, results in the group stages weren't exactly favorable for the Swedes. In fact, they had to do it the hard way, coming from the last chance qualifier. In the groups, they took on Flipside first. A slow start, aggressive double op buy in the second round on Inferno, and a broken economy left them 7 rounds down early before scoring their first point.
They're going to look for a second one. Flusha around the corner, gets rid of Blaze, almost up against the AWP, but throws a Molotov to stop that push to come in, and then Flusha takes another 2. He's got a 3 for so far, but he is unaware of where this last player is for T, and is well at it on Flusha, a 1-on-1 situation. The bomb's in the open, the chicken is looking at it. Maybe you can reveal something to Flusha. He was expecting him to come up high, but while it's already on the side, it's like, oh, wait, no, he's down low at your initiation, or maybe not. JW, 1-2! Stopping a little bit of spill damage there, and Olaf, he's the man getting that breach, takes out 2. Looking for the 3rd over at the door, Schneider.
In fact, it gave up the map to Flipside. They did make it through, however, but it was the Denmark squad, Team Solo Mid, that took them straight in 2 maps and forced them into the lower bracket final against Na'Vi.
What he managed to pick up, he managed to get the AWP in his hands. The spray's coming out from Kerrigan, keeping the CTs into short A as Crims and Olaf try and battle it out. There's at least another pickup to come their way.
A 2-1 win against Na'Vi lined up a rematch, and no one would have doubted them losing twice to TSM. However, that's exactly the fate they served.
Flusha actually taking out Sipnix on the top of Banana. Taking out a second, there's still the 3rd. And Flush is going to claim him as well. Too easy with the A. He's on 1 HP, which isn't that great, but Dupree hiding inside of the smoke, he shoots him in the back! The T's are wanting to bail out. They said no more.
In the last chance qualifier, they were given a best-of-5 direct invite chance to qualify against Ninjas in Pajamas. However, they only scored 1 map victory, and as such, NIP was directly invited. After the loss to NIP, they were then given a direct second chance to qualify in the Constellation Final, where they met a red-hot Flipside. However, they proved to be no match, as Olaf dominated all 3 games, putting up one of the most complete series of anyone, despite Simple's efforts the night before for the opposing side.
More than just 1, he's already found 2, make it 3. Nice shot on the 3rd one, in fact, with the Galil. Olaf Meister, excuse me, is the only one out, as Flusha does get that kill, make it 1, make it 2, and great shot from Crims to contribute. JW.
No, it was just, yeah, a thing that made it look prettier than it actually was.
And Olaf spots the first go by. That's Blade. He's going to clean up Simple as well, and a 3rd for him. He's so good in this spot. What a shot with the USP on that one.
3-0 in the end, only giving up 11 rounds. It was an immaculate performance that left them with the 4th and final spot. From France, Team Envious. Happy, Kiyoshima, NBK, Shocks, Smiths. Recent results have been favorable for the French squad. First place 4 weeks ago in Kiev at Star Ladder. Semi-finalists at the major in Poland, Katowice 2015. and of course first place at MLG Aspen. Team Envious group stage was a little bit odd. They actually had an excellent performance against VP, starting with a 7-0 lead in Map 2, already up Map 1. However, with all 5 players boot camping in London getting ready for the Gfinity LAN, there was internet connectivity issues, and unfortunately they sustained a forfeit loss. However, they did pull out a win against Penta and set up a rematch with VP in the lower bracket final.
That flash goes in, but Shox has passed it, and Taz doesn't realize that. So there's a kill that goes the way. Oh, and look at a bit away from the site. Now he's going to have to come back. Keo's got the first, though. Snacks down. He's not done yet. There's 2, and actually a 3rd as he gets Neo as well. Finally, Pasha finds 1 in response with that Tech 9, but he's all that's left. And with 4 very hungry and thirsty Envious players.
It was a great series, and in fact, VP took the first map and looked poised to take Map 2. However, a great performance from Shox led to a comeback that allowed Envious to set up a match with NIP for a direct invite. As always, on paper, when you look back on it, it seems like Envious had the full control of the match. 2-0 again over NIP.
That's too much. Ninjas in Pajamas are going to fail this. Now both of these AWPs, they're going to get lost as Shox takes out Alu and Forest, leaving the last remaining player, Get Right.
Nades over, Chinese fireworks in toward that site, and Exist has to run through the fire. Speaking of it, he's going to have to go because his teammate made the decision, and oh, that slow draw time at the CZ, can't even get it out.
There's a small gap there.
Oh,
that lets him see the
flashes
catwalk
way
and just
out.
walks in. Perfect play by him.
Mirage one-sided, 16-5, but on Inferno, things didn't go exactly as planned. NIP put up one of the closest performances they've had against the French squad in a very long time, and it was an extremely tight 16-21 in overtime for Envy.
Defuse right now, though, it's planted default. Shox is going to do this. He's easily got it because Freiburg's got no HP. They needed to get on that bomb immediately, and they just didn't do it.
Shooter from the right. In fact, Shox already bringing down the 2 players who are pushing up their mid, having to fall down to the pit. But NIP, they're on the side. Get Right picking up 2.
As always, Envious had Nip's number. It was an easy 2-0, and the Swedes never gave up a challenge, much like they have in recent LAN performances. As such, Envious was our first directly invited team to DreamHack Bucharest.
Such a wonderful crowd, and it's only Friday. I'm Sebastian Papa Smurfonchuk, and I will be your host for this event. And we are about to start the semifinals of the PGL CSGO Championship Series. First up, I want to welcome on stage a very special lady, first time in Romania. Give it up for Seltzer.
Well, thank you so much, Papa Smurf.
How are you?
I am doing great. How are you guys doing? That was a little lukewarm. I think we need some Counter-Strike to warm him up a bit.
Yeah, but we can't have any Counter-Strike without our guys from the analyst desk.
That's true. Why don't I introduce you guys to our 3 spectacular analysts. We're going to have Richard Lewis, Thorin, And Natsu breaking it down for us all day long.
And we also can't have a game of Counter-Strike without our adorable casters. Give it up for Toby1 and the Sadokist.
Well, I think they agree. Those are some adorable casters, real cute.
Yeah, so I think you want to see some Counter-Strike action. And without any delay, let's bring up on stage the first semi-finalists. Give it up for TSM!
Device. Debris. Carrigan. Zipnix. Team Solo Mid.
Ladies and gentlemen, the men of TSM Counter-Strike. Now talk to me. You guys had a little bit of an issue yesterday about getting together, getting all here at the tournament. What happened?
So we flew from different directions, and Cajun and Device actually missed their flight yesterday, so they actually just got here today, like an hour before we got here. So it's been a little hectic getting here, but it's settled now. So
That's some rough stuff there.
How do you feel about your odds in this tournament? You managed to beat Fnatic twice in the group. What do you think will happen now?
well, it's basically like we know that the three teams that's here is probably like the ranked top 3 in the world right now. So we're probably between 4 and 5. So we know that we will go into the the matches without too much pressure. We know that the pressure's on them, hopefully. So I think we will get some good games going, and we just need to play our games. So I think it will be a good game.
Okay, give it up for TSM.
I think they're feeling ready.
Yeah, they're feeling ready. Welcome on stage. Our next semi-finalist, Team Fnatic.
There's some Fnatic fans in this house. And here they are now.
Watch ya. GW. Prince. Olafmeister. Pronax. Team Fnatic.
That's a pretty nice compilation of your boys there. How you feeling about them on the stage today?
Feeling good, you know. We feel well prepared, and yeah, it's going to be a good weekend of Counter-Strike.
You struggled a little bit in the PGL Counter-Strike Go Championship Series. You qualified last through the last chance qualifiers. What do you think are your chances, your team's chances?
I think we have pretty high chances of winning the whole thing. I mean, it's only 4 teams, and you know, everyone's really, really strong. It's going to be a tough competition, but we feel well prepared for this one. And yeah, our goal is definitely #1.
Okay, give it up for Fnatic.
Both of them vying for that #1 spot. Both of them feeling pretty confident.
Yeah, pretty confident, pretty confident. The games are about to begin. But first up, let's throw it to the analyst desk to get us on the way.
Hello everyone and welcome to the PGL CSGO Championship Analysis Desk. I'm Richard Lewis, going to be kind of hosting this and trying to direct traffic. And with me we've got some of the best analysts that money can buy, or maybe not. Let's see. We've got Thorin, of course, one of my wingmen from many events now.
Okay.
We're a regular partnership.
Richard, BS, you can be my wingman.
All right, okay, all right, all right. Let's not go Top Gun.
Some of the best hosts you can buy. Depending on how much money you got.
Yeah, I heard Tasteless wasn't available. And of course, we've got Natu with us as well. Now, I want to say, and this is serious, there's no punchline coming, just on behalf of the Counter-Strike community, and I do feel equipped to speak on behalf of the whole Counter-Strike community. I just want to say, obviously, there's news of your retirement recently, and I just want to thank you for all of the memories.
Oh,
there you go.
Heartwarming.
Really,
I'm surprised you were that heartwarming.
The guy retired. Come on.
Well, no. The thing is,
there we go. The biggest round of applause ever in your career, and I made it happen. You owe me, all right?
The thing is, Richard, I've always loved Nato on the analyst desk and doing commentary. He's got a lot of insight. So he's actually taken the smart career route, because he's realized if you're like a Sean Geza or nothing, you only get like part of the money for appearing later in the matches. The trick is just get the full analyst check at the beginning. Don't even have to like lose the matches, and then you win. So shout outs to the Cloud9 guys there.
Yeah, I like the way you twisted the knife in a team that aren't even here at the tournament.
It's my style.
I think what we'll do is we will start focusing on the tournament at hand, because it's going to be absolutely fantastic. Like we said right at the top of the show, we've got 4 of the best teams in the world, if not the 4 best teams in the world. I mean, I'll ask you about that in a second. But this first tie here involves Team Solo Mid versus Fnatic. Now, Duncan, you do a top 10, don't you?
Yep.
And we don't have graphics for it or anything prepared, but I'm sure you've got it memorized in that analytical brain of yours. So tell us about this matchup and where you place these 2 teams globally currently.
Well, at the moment, I've got Fnatic as my #2 team, and I have TSM as #5. Now, I did have Fnatic #1 for most of this year. They won the iOS Pantamera, they won the Major, but they just lost ESEA, and the problem is they haven't been very active. Since the Major, since they won that $100,000, they've done no events except ESEA last weekend. So I kind of docked them in the sense that there was more points to be gained for a team like Envious, who were going to tournaments, were winning tournaments, were getting best-of-3 series wins over big-name teams. So at the moment, I've just boosted Envious past them. But this is the #2 versus the #5, so still a premier matchup, elite-level teams.
Yeah, well, I definitely agree with that. I mean, do you think that TSM should be perhaps a little bit higher than Duncan's 5th? I mean, recently I think they've shown some promising signs of development.
It's a fair 5th, I think. They're amongst there. I mean, it's really hard for me to put these teams in a certain order. For me, it's I'm not even sure if looking at the big scheme of things, if Envy is better than Fnatic. Yeah, statistically maybe if you look at it, but I'm not really sure. I think I'm just gonna let following next months show me what the deal is with
Well, what we're going to see straight away, and Duncan makes a very good point. This is one of the things that I did notice when I saw them competing in ESEA. Fnatic were rusty. I mean, it's got to be said. Sure, they made it to a final, which is always nice when you're not playing your best, but you make it all the way to a final. But actually, I think they had a series lost to Titan. They lost to, obviously, Virtus Pro in the final. These are teams that ordinarily the #1 team in the world should be beating. And sometimes when you take a long break off, which teams tend to do after winning a major because they're so exhausting, all the preparation, you don't come back strong. So is this a potential banana skin for Fnatic here?
I don't think so, because I actually think in a weird way ESEA will have helped them out in that sense. They'll have seen all their deficiencies. Because you have to realize, even though, yeah, they were rusty, they hadn't had any form, they hadn't had any offline play, in theory, because it was 70,000 first place, people, I know Fnatic definitely thought, like, this is like a must-win for us. We're like the main team here, 70,000, like, we're going full guns for ESEA. So by losing 2 series, not just losing to VP, they also lost to Titan. I think actually that should have showed them, like, where we need practice, where we need to get our groove going. Because I actually don't mind the decision to skip some events. I think it's smart. You don't want to overwork yourself. Especially when, like I say, you were going from winning 100,000 to like, well, we want to try and win the 70,000. I think their problem is they probably should have done 1 event in the meantime. Like there was 3 events optional between, and they didn't attend any of them. If I were them, I'd have done like 1, like maybe 1 halfway through, or maybe 1 right before, just like as a warm-up event. It's the fact that they went in there with like almost a month cold of no LAN play, just online play. So I actually expect, if anything, ESEA should have been now their warm-up to this event, especially because now they're not just going to face Titan, they're going to face their rivals, NiP, Envious, the best teams in the world.
Well, let's ask you about TSM's upset potential here, and then we'll go to the veto.
Yeah.
But they did beat Fnatic in the qualifiers for this event, TSM. So, I mean, a lot of people have maybe thrown the accusation that TSM do perform better online. They have a tendency to be chokers in the later stages of the tournament. But of course, there's only 4 teams here. There isn't necessarily a tournament to progress through. You're playing the big boys straight away. So is this going to work to TSM's advantage here?
I think, yeah, I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. Like the map pool that we're looking at here is one that both teams actually like. So there's no favor for either one of them. But the thing for TSM, they need to basically just perform better individually and as a unit to be Fnatic here. Because both these teams, seems like TSM is really, they seem to go for Dust2 a lot, and they like to play Inferno as well. I sort of touched the maps already, but
it's all right. It's all right.
I mean,
maybe you should go back to playing. No, you've ruined my bit. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Well, anyway, still the thing is that both teams like all these maps, so it's really going to come down to TSM bringing their A game, and I'm not really sure if, considering how they have performed at tournaments, is that going to happen or not? Because Fnatic is just that strong.
Well, look, I'll continue picking your brains about this map veto here, since you've already alluded to the maps. The first ban that came in was by TSM. They banned Cobblestone. I mean, we've imagined...
Yeah, that's a fair one, because Fnatic is notoriously... They have a really good track record in Cobblestone, so it's a no-brainer for me.
Agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, that was an obvious one from TSM. Like, it's not a map they want to play. It's not one that they've even tried to veer into before. It's not like they've been gambling, like, oh, we'll expand our map pool here. Not really. If anything, I think they would be going more towards the overpass side if they were going to test out one of the 2 newer maps. So, yeah, obvious ban there from TSM.
Fnatic answered back with a ban of Nuke, so Nuke gets removed from the pool.
Fnatic famously that's always been their number 1 ban. And they have played it a little bit recently, but the key thing is they only tend to play it against other teams that don't like it. So they played Envious on it, and they'll play like a Na'Vi or someone on it, but they don't want to play any of the good teams. And famously, it's TSM's historical best map. So that's an obvious one for Fnatic, because your worst map is their best map. So yeah, that's a very obvious one.
Then this is the interesting one for me as I see it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is, Richard, you don't know what you're talking about again. But TSM actually picked Dust2 first. And I don't know, I think Fnatic are a very solid team on Dust2. I know it's probably TSM's one of the stronger maps, but I was a little bit surprised to see that as their first pick.
Yeah, I mean, but the problem for TSM in that, well, in the veto against Fnatic is what are the maps that Fnatic does not like to play, apart from, well, Nuke, pretty much. They are pretty solid on all maps. So sort of what they're, like, I think the way they say it is that they're just going to pick the map that they feel the most comfortable in, and they're just going to really rely and put their trust in their own gameplay and not think about Fnatic as much.
Then Fnatic weigh in with Inferno, and that's not a surprise. I mean, we know that Fnatic, famously at one point it was inarguable they were the best team in the world on Inferno, especially with that CT lockdown that they were famous
I think
for.
they still are. Like, statistically, they've only lost something like, I think they've lost 5 times ever on it out of like 31 or 32 games. So the record is insane. It's over 80% win rate on it. Now, even when they do lose on it, okay, they're only losing to like LDLC, now Envy, who's also one of the best Inferno teams. They've lost to Titan, who actually just have a very good matchup with them, and that's one of Titan's favorite maps. So I don't think it's like even their losses take away from how good they are on the map, because they're only losing to other masters of the map. They're not losing to the lesser teams. So I still think that's an obvious pick for Fnatic. It's your home map, and you know that TSM likes to play it, so they were never going to ban it. So it's always going to be available.
Yeah, from TSM's point of view, from what I've noticed, is an interesting dynamic on Inferno for me is going to be how is Fnatic going to play Banana CT? Are they going to play it aggressively or not? Because that's going to affect TSM approach to T side of Inferno straight. Basically, if Fnatic plays really passively, what TSM and Karrigan's team previously also like to do is play heavy B. Like they want to go to Banana and have these really nice executions towards B bomb side. So I think that's a nice dynamic there to be watched and see how Fnatic approaches their CT on Inferno.
Yeah, so we'll come to that. And then TSM weigh in with their final ban, which is Cash. Again, I don't think that's really a surprise. I think Fnatic are probably the more capable of the two teams on that map.
This is basically where the whole series hinges for TSM, because the problem if TSM is you're looking at the 3 maps that are picked and you're like, well, which one are we a favorite on? I don't think they're actually a favorite on any, even on Dust2. Yeah, it is a decent map for TSM, but I think Fnatic, I would give them the edge on that. So my problem here is TSM's also a good Cash team. Recently, it's been a good map for them. They always have close games. They play that A site very well. So the big problem here is I think they were choosing between, right, which do we go with? Is it Dust2 or Cash? That's what we can pick for our first one. And they've decided to go for Dust2 because, okay, in theory, it is lower down the hierarchy for Fnatic. Fnatic's one of the best Cash teams. But actually, bizarrely, if you're going to go with that logic of like, well, they go on all the maps, I would have actually, I think, gambled on Cash. I think that would be a better gamble, I think, than Dust2.
But Dust2, in a way, is a very skill-heavy based map. So the thing is, even though Fnatic, obviously, they have some of the best players in the world, they're going to just have to sort of rely on the fact that their TSM's player are feeling more on fire than Fnatic's, basically, straight away, because it's the first map. So I think, looking into it, that could be a factor there. And, well, we don't know. Maybe they've found some new things on, because a lot of teams seem to have a lot of struggles playing T-side and Dust2 nowadays, right? So I'm actually really looking forward to teams picking up their T-side play. And, who knows, maybe they've come up with something, a new way of playing it, and maybe a reason there. But for me, mostly, I think it's about just the feeling of them for just playing better individually, and that being their building bridge, getting over Fnatic.
If I had to guess, I'd say that TSM haven't come up with anything new on T-side, just, history and all that.
Well, but it's possible.
I think they should come up with a T-side first before they try to come up with a new one.
We'll get into some of Thorin's zingers in a moment, but we'll just finish the veto. So the final ban was Fnatic Overpass. I think they get trigger warnings whenever that map's mentioned now. So, I mean, a little bit surprising to see them ban it. They know how to play it. There's no doubt about that. Hell, they broke it and had to get Valve to fix it. So
true.
It has been changed a bit, though. That's the thing. I think Fnatic's one of the thing with Overpass and Cobblestone you have to realize is the way the old maps were, what's interesting is when they updated both of them, so they made Cobblestone really T-sided, and they changed out, I think it was the B site, the way that was held on Overpass, it actually almost overnight changed the teams that liked the maps. Like, actually, Fnatic was willing to play that map. They didn't have to play it very often because they had such a wide map pool. Likewise, some teams really loved Cobblestone who were CT-sided, but now it's so T-sided, we've almost seen it like flip as to who likes it and who doesn't. So it's actually a bit weird in that, like, we actually still haven't seen that many games on the new Cobblestone, and that many on the new Overpass. So it's still hard to tell who really likes it. So that's why I think a lot of teams, they just go with the bans on them still. No one's really super confident.
Yeah, well, I just fully agree with that, yeah.
And then obviously that leaves Mirage as the third map. So Dust2 Inferno Mirage, it's like you said, a pretty generic series, all things considered.
Well, if you had to pick between these 3 teams, like if I told you, okay, TSM's dream 3 maps versus anyone, this would be the 3. And if I told you Fnatic's dream 3 maps versus anyone, this would probably be the 3. Maybe they might say Cash instead of Dust2, but even so, that's very close. So when you get 2 teams that are like that, luckily, as long as you don't try any kind of weird strategy, it's probably just going to come out, going to be 3 maps you like to play.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Dust2 and talk about some of the players on both of these teams in particular. Now, Dust2, famously, there's not really a lot that you can say about it that hasn't been said before. Obviously, it's the go-to map for Counter-Strike and has been pretty much since we moved out of the awful phase with Dust and Aztec and everything back in the day. But both of these teams have players, I think, that can open up the map, both from a terrorist perspective and a CT perspective. I want to talk about TSM first. There was the double D combination of Dupree and Device. And, you know, I like the way they play this. They tend to play the T side very aggressively and go for entry picks. Is that going to be a factor here?
Though I've always said with this team, way back, even into the Copenhagen Wolves days, like 2 organizations ago, if TSM is ever at their best, if they're ever going to be a world champion, it'll be by those 2 players. Those 2 players in history should have been like the Danish Get Right and Forest. They should have been the combo that you always there, the stars you rely on. So the fact that sometimes instead we look at this TSM team and we say to ourselves like, oh, they're pretty evenly skilled, it's all spread apart, that kind of shows where sometimes they've had problems actually asserting themselves as stars. So if they can both be on fire on a map like this, yes, TSM can win the map. If I had to pick like an X-Factor guy for TSM, I'd actually go with Cajun B, because I think this map particularly, I've seen some really big performances from him on it. They don't necessarily rely on him to carry, so against a team like Fnatic, if he can have a big performance, that's when I feel like TSM could win the map.
And I think you mentioned Cajun, didn't you, when we were backstage?
Yeah.
I mean, have you been paying a lot of attention to him? Because I think the problem with Cajun is, obviously I know him back from the Counter-Strike Source days. This is a guy who would come into a team, and his arrival in any team would be hyped up. Like, this guy is, like, you know, incredible aimer, you know, just really talented. And he'd be in the team for, like, a month. And then he'd disappear, and it'd be, oh, I'm doing some national service, or I'm doing some traveling, or I've retired. And then he comes back, and you're like, okay, this time, right? This time it's gonna happen. Yeah. 1 month later, it's the same story. The guy's got, I don't know, like ants in his pants. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't like to sit still for too long. So, I mean, can he be the X factor like Duncan's talking about here?
Definitely, he can. I mean, he's got the skill set, and he's a very diverse player. He can do a lot of things, and he's deadly with the AWP, and just all around solid player. I mean, I think it's just a matter of, it's more on the psychological side seems to be where the issues lie. Well, I could say that's for most of TSM actually, because we all know the skills are there. Yeah. That they're all their skill ceiling is very high.
I think it is different though with Cajun, because whereas like Device, I normally always pick Device as my X factor because he's so good. If he ever plays to his level, he can win a game for you. Yeah. But since he hasn't so often in this stage of a tournament, I think it's unfair to keep calling him the X factor. So instead, I pick Cajun because I think he can actually do it. Now, when you're talking there about like the mentality, the difference is Device, if he has problems, it's choking. It's like nerves getting to him. He can't play his game. Cajun doesn't seem like he's choking, he rages. That's his problem. He's the guy where if it's going badly, he gets on himself, he gets on his team, and it's like a negative attitude, unfortunately. So that's the issue I have with him. But when he was saying there, AWPing, that's also another reason why I have him as my X factor, because when Device is at his best, he's AWPing, he's playing that aggressive style, but when he does have these nerve issues, he tends to like go, okay, I'll go safe, I'll just go a rifle, normal positions. Cajun, no matter what, will use the AWP actually. He's the guy where if Device won't AWP, he's definitely going to pick it up, you know. So that's why I think Cajun's primed actually to be the guy in position, like here's the ball, like you have to take us over the line.
And also with the Carrigan played very well originally as well. So I mean, if we see Device, we see Cajun playing well, and well Dupree as well, and pretty much well everyone, but also Carrigan, the way that we've seen him play recently. Yeah, you know, TSM could do some really good things.
We'll definitely come on to that in a moment, but let's just talk about the Fnatic team for just a little bit. If we're highlighting Device and Dupree as being these kind of double D combination, this like, you know, the Rock'em and Sock'em
You're all about the double Ds, aren't you, Richard? What is it?
I'm trying to slip it in there.
Just like the big stars.
I'm trying to get a bra sponsorship.
They draw the eye, you know. You've got to focus on what's important in life.
Comes with the territory.
You're right. But they're going to be coming up against Olaf Meister and Krims, who these guys locked
there's
down.
A pair right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Wonderful pair.
They're triple double Ds, right? Like
fantastic symmetry, synergy, chemistry. I'd love to
get
my hands on them
in
a team, as my team, you know. Yeah.
But you know, these guys lock down bomb sites for fun, so it's a very unenvious task having to go up against them.
Well, here's a statement for you. Like I said, in terms of Danish CS, Dupree and Device should be the Get Right and Forest. They should have been like, they should have blossomed into those levels of talent. The Get Right and Forest of this era is Olaf M and Krims. They're like two star players, but who work together so well. They play the same sites together, and when both of them together are on fire, that's when Fnatic's unbeatable. If JW's doing well, okay, that can still be like an entertaining game. If Olaf M and Krims are the best, Fnatic is unbeatable. That is when I've almost never seen them lose.
Yeah, for Fnatic, the thing is, when their strategy play, it's not up to par sometimes. When there's a situation, let's say they're playing a pretty slow pick play where like 45 to 55 seconds go past and nothing happens, that's when all of Meister, JW, or those two guys are the ones that just make opening plays, and they just wreak havoc. And those two are, for me, especially on T side for Fnatic, are the players to watch.
So I'm being told our casters are ready, and we're going to throw over at them in just a second. But what we'll do is, I'll just ask you, play to watch for Fnatic, both of you quickly.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Crims, especially because, I mean, with the maps here, like, if we can get to something like Dust2, he's the master of it. So I think Crims, because he sets up the CT side, and when Fnatic are at their best, it's those dominant CT halves. So when Crims is flowing, he's like the foundation piece for the CT side.
I would pick Olfmeister, just for the diversity again, similar to we were talking about KGB. I think there are similarities there with the abilities and the skill ceiling. So Olfmeister being the more proven one. But yeah, Olfmeister would be my pick.
Okay, well, look, great to pick your brains and get us starting. I'm looking forward to having a great weekend with you. But what we'll do is we'll throw it with the game now. That's the important stuff. So we're going to go to TSM versus Fnatic with our casters, Toby1 and Sadakis. Take it away, boys.
Thank you very much. Yes, we are here to get ourselves underway for the CSGO Championship Series. I'm Toby1. I'll be your host man for today. And joining me is also Sadakis.
What does that make me?
Well, you're a perfect blend.
Okay.
You're like a good coffee in the morning, man. Like, you give you enough of a kick, and it gives you good quality.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's good.
That's
I haven't had coffee this morning, so it's good to know that I can be my own blend, and now we'll get things going. So what do you think about the game? We obviously heard from the desk a lot of theory about what's going to happen, and of course, now we've got...
It's really weird trying to come into it, because we start looking at the teams and you think, well, okay, Fnatic, like, they're the winners of the last major. Yeah, they've fallen off the horse a little bit recently, but they're still Fnatic. How can you count that out?
And again, it's not even so much that they've fallen off the horse. It's like Thorin said, they haven't really been as active as the other teams. And that long break, extended break, while I do think it's important to settle down, a lot of these teams are burnt out. It's actually kind of a blessing in some ways that VP didn't qualify, because it would have been 8 in a row by the time they finished the run. Instead, now they get 1 week off.
You need time to breathe and actually come back and develop yourself and make sure you don't, but like when you burn out, you'll be missing shots which you never thought you would have ever missed before.
Right, and I think what he said was also important, though. By not doing any events, they were a little cold last weekend. Now they've got that out of their system, and they should be at their peak performance here. But again, TSM, post-patch as well, we haven't seen a lot of Fnatic. We've seen a little more of TSM. They seem to be a little bit more consistent with it, but TSM has been playing some of their better CS lately, I will say. Of course, they came up a little bit short at Copenhagen Games, but they did beat VP just before that at Star Ladder. And of course, online, as we are going to get into it, online between these two teams, we did actually see TSM take this map as well as Inferno based on some early buys. It's a little different on LAN. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, well, because the most recent one was only about a week ago, when that was actually when Fnatic took this map up against TSM. So it's gone both ways. So we look forward to a nice tight match. Of course, we are going to be kicking out with the knife round, so who will be CTs to start with. As I was saying on the panel too, like, it's been a rough time for Ts on Dust2 of late.
It has, but this is also in the Kerrigan leadership era for TSM, as Fnatic's already going to start things off. In the leadership era with Kerrigan, this was the first map that the T-side started to get some life to it for TSM, so hopefully that continues, because they're going to need to be strong against a team like Fnatic, obviously. Yep. And again, we saw KGB, what he did, the 3 straight 3-kill rounds in the qualifiers to make sure that Fnatic was basically nailed in the coffin immediately at the start of the second halftime when they played on this map. It's got to be similar again, but there's
so much pressure to put on top of KGB's shoulders. Like the guys on this, like, he is it. Like, if he fires up, then TSM are going to be winning this game.
And I don't so much think he's it. I just think he's the X factor. If he has a good game, it's going to be a lot easier for them. I think the other players, again, Device, Dupree, you look at them for a little bit more consistency. Yes, Device has had some issues late in games where. The good thing about Device, I will say, is if he does start off slow, he's not like some players who just can't build it up. He can get around out of nowhere, but the problem is when he drops off late, is always been his issue. It's been his traditional problem, and if that happens, then you need someone like KGB. That's when KGB needs to be the X factor. So yes, it does sort of get put on his shoulders, but at the same time, it's not all him. This is a team game for them.
Well, let's get it underway, everybody. Game number 1 of our first best of 3 winners bracket semi-final. Fnatic going up against TSM. Fnatic win the 9th round. They will choose to go onto the CT side, and we'll see just how well they can play out this CT. Where can TSM find those little holes in the armor of Fnatic? Let's get it underway.
And we will do just that. So already 3 out A. In fact, with the pistols, they want to get close quarters. So Pronax and Flusha get boosted up on Catwalk. And it's JW that's supporting them at A. In fact, he's going to drop back down towards CT, but it's going to be Crims inside B right now. That might be the first one to spot up a player. Dupree's on the right side. But so far, no one coming through. They're just setting up for this take at mid.
Yeah, they're trying to get as much information as they possibly can. Fnatic will always look, obviously, his pistol around to start with, so you're going to be stacking up your numbers onto one side, or at least one position, which in this case is going to be the short A, where they are hoping that TSM can push in, they can get that early frag, that early advantage. And if they have to go B, it's an easy position from there. You can drop yourself down to CT spawn and jump over quickly. But it looks like TSM, they are going to commit coming in through lower to upper dark now, and this will be a B movement. But look straight in the middle as well. That's going to be the first kill of our tournament. JW, Olaf defending from the back boxes. He's going to give the call, and all of Fnatic is currently moving over, and Olaf going big on device while KGB. Crims comes in from the window and shuts down the push from TSM. First round goes to Fnatic.
Perfect start from Fnatic. Great read. Again, you get aggressive on catwalk with the pistols. You get the information. They came around late. They picked up. JW obviously got that first kill. They picked up the lurking player from TSM, and then it was obvious. They had to be going B, and Olaf and Crims held strong. Now they'll go to these SMGs. Here we are, post-patch. We're going to get them out. So big kill reward money and also a hefty amount of movement speed with them. This should be pretty comfortable for them.
Look how quick they're moving
shuts
up
down
to
the Tech 9s.
Flusher already there, looking for one, looking for two. The perfect crossfire is there for Fnatic. They're able to shut down the push, and it's only the one man left, Karrigan in middle lane, and that's going to be Olaf to not bring him down. In fact, Karrigan gets on top of him. So it's only one man left that was moving down through the mid doors.
And he's picked up this SMG. Pronax is low, but again, that countered out the Tech 9s when they rushed through. There's no train for the T's that time. It's all been Karrigan just pulling it back right now, and he's going to flash himself through this smoke. If he gets into a good enough position, they are both low on health, 21 and 3 respectively for either
It's an impossible
JW and
situation.
Pronax.
It's an impossible situation. You're being asked to go through long A by yourself. The bomb's on the outside. You can't do anything about that. Your only option now is to back up through short or save weapons. That's it. You have 50 seconds to play with, so you may as well try something here. But it's a costly round for TSM. They bought up heavily for this, which means they're going to be pushed into. I don't know if they want to go for a full eco so they can have a real buy on round 4, but it's still a tough ask.
Oh, well, I mean, that's the nature of Counter-Strike, of CSGO right now. I mean, you can get into these early rounds. This is sort of, again, and I think it was Freiburg who made the tweet saying, yeah, okay, if you have Tech 9s, you can get those eco rounds, but the SMGs have made that a lot harder as Karrigan will drop down and Fnatic will pick up round 2. And that's exactly what we see. Teams are still investing into that eco buy, that second round force buy with the pistols, but it gets shut down, and this is all the way back. This was our first round. Olaf just using the box to full advantage.
Yeah, it was the perfect crossfire, that situation. Like you can't get the pickoffs with your pistols from there, and even if you push out, then Crims was in the perfect window spot. So Fnatic, good early 2 rounds. It will actually be, like, all we've got is a small upgrade in pistols, that's all.
And the fire to delay things out toward long A. JW gets a little bit aggressive. Cajun's already come through, and JW finds Dupree. So one more down, but it is that full save, like you say, and he'll just mow them apart. He switches over. He's also picked up a Tech 9, so insult to injury. He's got that gun.
JW mopping up the locked doors, picking up 4 for the round. Olaf was able to help out. Again, that little bit of a floater. But just aim high and looking for nothing but head.
And that'll let them buy out now. So we will get into our first gun round, but here's the difference. We had SMGs come out versus a force buy. The T side can't get to an op yet, and they've already got 2 for Fnatic. JW and Olaf both. And in fact, they're going to go aggressive with them. They're going to work it right toward catwalk, so no long presence. That does allow Device to get up through the doors and over toward the dumpster, but the rest of the team is grouping up toward B.
Yeah, but they may slow it up. That smoke is in a perfect position for Fnatic. There's no way TSM can come out with any level of information, but with the boost up, they're looking into lower dark and able to get that shot. It did actually connect into KGB, so he's down to 36 HP.
And that's the play if you're going to boost the Opticat, because you got to have that support player. As soon as he takes that first boost shot, drop out and have the rifle there in case he gets pushed from the corner.
No.
Instead, KGB was out in mid, so not up close. Doesn't matter. They'll get away with it. And they also get KGB down onto 36 as a result of that fall-off nade. So now it's on to Olaf inside B. But again, it's still default right now from TSM. They haven't committed anywhere. Bomb's still in middle. One player out long, one player in the cave, but they aren't going to come through.
Well, they know they need the pickup before they can really get in. Like, Fnatic picking up a double AWP situation while this information isn't fully into the hands of TSM just yet.
The hard part right now is by giving up long, if Flusha does go down early and they group on Cat, which they're doing, and JW doesn't get the kills, they'll open up A entirely, but he's already found one. Dupree gets Pronax in return, and luckily, JW did manage to fall down, but Device has come up. This is what I'm saying. Flusha not directly in position to take him down. Luckily, Flusha comes through late. That gives him the kill, and it's all going to be up to Karrigan, who gets dropped as well. So through the smoke comes JW and Flusha, and they're going to take full advantage, and Dupree's going to get pinched. Does have the bomb, does get one, but his days are numbered.
Yeah, he wasn't expecting Olaf to wait there. Point blank range AWP. The 2 players from TSM, you're able to get yourself up through long A. the smoke advantage was sort of there for them. But at the same time, they just cannot get a single round yet. So 4-0 in favor of Fnatic. The double orbs are held, and Fnatic, it was almost a flawless round. Almost. But we're going to get back underway again. Looks like someone left the bomb behind, but they are going to bring it back over to B. So again, TSM starting up with this prep where they bring 3 players up into Upper Dark and then just play from there. Well, Olaf.
Yeah, he actually, Olaf's going to spot them up, so he falls back. There's Flusha to pop out in support, so they've got a good crossfire system working now. They don't want to give up these kills to pistols, though, so Xyp9x onto Pronax is big. It does let him pick up an M4, and now they've got options late in the round. Do they push all the way through and try and overwhelm JW, or do they try and sustain this M4 for the next one? But Tech9 up close, tries to do damage. Xyp9x is the one that's peeking. He'll switch back to the op on the off angle.
Yeah, there goes your plant. They got it down, so TSM, can they hold the line? They don't have all the weapons in the world. Only one M4 and a couple of techs, but Olaf, they're bringing the orbs up through short A. Device is there to hold on the stairwell. Olaf going to win on the pistol battle. JW in the meantime working with Crims to get back onto the site. It's all up to Dupree, taking out one. He's been pinched on 2 sides right now. He needs to get one, but he cannot do it. Olaf will wrap it up, and Fnatic keeping TSM on 0 for the round wins.
And Crims dropping down on Kerrigan inside the site really turned that back because they had full position, and it was a direct retake from short and CT. That one M4, if they had a second rifle even, just to take down Crims when he came up the ramp, that would have completely given the round to TSM. So good save round, no less, but they'll go back, and this time Device does have the op-out. We'll see if it makes the difference.
Man, I'm loving the way Fnatic are playing this. I was wondering if they were going to do it as well, because in their Fight Night battle, they had a best of 5 up against TSM only like 7-10 days ago. JW already gets the initial pickup. They really manipulate the short A. They're able to hold there with a large amount of people and then just rotate over quickly. It's all about the call timing, and Fnatic have been doing it perfectly so far.
And TSM looks slow out of the gate. Xyp9x does go back. Nice nade. JW Dupree caught. Pokeball effective. They did go back for the op. That's the important thing. So Device went down early, lost that op out of Olaf. That's not a common shot for him to miss.
No, it isn't. Unfortunately for Olaf, he's given away his position here, which means Kerrigan is completely aware where he is. Olaf turns around.
He spotted him.
He realizes that he's waiting for Kerrigan to show himself, but that's why Kerrigan flashes up. Xyp9x pushing in through the A side, taking out JW, but Olaf gets the better of him, and the bomb is left behind. KGB has to come back and mop up the pieces, which is Olaf's corpse, and we're into a 2-on-1 situation.
And a 2-on-1 with a lot of time. That's the other part. Yes, Crims knows they're mid, so he'll go for this pick now, but he has to gamble. He has to play mid and wait for the information and the read on these 2 players from TSM. They're going to stick it together, and of course, that op still out does mean that if he crosses these mid doors, they're going to know instantly.
Yeah, and Xyp9x is already making his commitment. There's no other choice now. They've moved over to A. You've got 33 seconds left on the clock, and the AWP has also moved over, so Crims can rotate over, but obviously you've got to have the 2 players together. Strength in numbers.
So the question is, does he go for this once the bomb goes down, or does he play for exits?
That smoke doesn't cover properly. They had to wait for the secondary smoke.
He spams through. They've dropped the op at long, so if Crims doesn't have a good entry and feel confident, he can at least try and secure that op from getting repicked up, but he's going to go. Why not? 5-0, got money. He's going to do everything he can with this M4. Jump shots and everything, but not able to find anyone. They've fallen off, perfectly timed, and that flash delays him even further, and they're on either side. 19 HP, not looking likely, and he goes down immediately. So TSM get on the board finally. And a bit of aggression from Olaf that caught them off.
Yeah, that was like when you have an AWP all the way up on top mid when he's meant to be playing as a CT side, it's not something you're really expecting. Of course, if Olaf was able to get that initial pickup, this would have been a very, very different round. Then he would have been able to focus on that one-on-one battle with the AWPer and not worry about the 2 guys who are already moving up through long A.
And again, by playing it with the rifles, they drop the op at long. They'll go back. Device gets it back into his hands.
So he needs those early pickups. A very quick movement as well into
that's the thing about last round. He lost that op battle early to JW, so you would have thought initially with the early pick, op down, they have to go back to get it, that Fnatic was in the driver's seat. But once Olaf pushed up and get caught out,
they're in through mid doors.
And no smoke, so they have to find this pick towards CT. There's no one directly there. They can actually push through and late smoke this on the rotations.
If they read Fnatic properly though, well, Crims, now he's going to flash, he's going to be revealing out the movement in through mid.
6 HP though. JW does find Xyp9x. That's big. That slows down your secondary push. So the split's been canceled out already, and he's going to get more. Cajun in the window. Finally, Device gets in position to drop him in return, but he's going to have to smoke this off and hold it because it is a 1-man disadvantage and make it 2 as Pronax right through the window, fearless. That bomb dropped. They've got full control of the round now.
That was really optimistic from Device. He had no support. Dupree was too far back over on T-spawn, which means he knew upper dark, it would be only a matter of time before someone was going to push through there, and they're coming through door, and they're coming through window. You just can't cover that many angles, and Dupree is just going to hold back, save the AK, 30 seconds to stay alive. And Fnatic are very happy with this. They're sitting on top of the bomb with all three there.
I mean, yeah, the other thing is they reset the money bonus last round as well, so he has to hold on to this AK. There's not much at all to work with for TSM, and again, so far losing a lot of early picks. That's not giving them a chance to get into the round late. They're not opening up. That time they did get up mid, I will give them credit. JW just shut down the one player who came in, and Device wasn't in position to support, so it was almost a one-for-one trade for free. And that favors Fnatic in that position, especially if you're running a split and half of your split's already gone.
Yeah, if you could delay your upper dark play by maybe just 5 seconds, it would have been a lot more synced. And, well, TSM with a couple of problems so far. At least have a little bit of money for this round as well. But again, they're still playing up against these double orbs. You got 2 M4s in there as well as an AK. Fnatic are just rolling in the money, and they're also able to manipulate. But they're not fully rolling, and obviously there's a couple of players down on 0. It's not absolutely fantastic, but if they're able to win this round again, they do what they did in the earlier rounds, use the Molotov, slow down TSM so they feel pressure to try and push in quickly. Now they have at least managed to take out Long A, so that's one upside for them. As Pronax will get naded out inside the pit, and already Flusher forced to fall himself as far back as possible, almost the CT spawn. But keep your little eyes on the minimap as well for those mid doors.
Well, this is the big thing, because they do actually go back to 4-on-4. They traded Pronax late, but they did. This spreads your defense, but they've already early rotated onto A. It would have been absolutely foolish for TSM to push it, so now they fanned out back across the map. GW lagged up down to 38, but Flush is going to find out Kerrigan.
Yeah, they actually changed their angle of approach. TSM were originally going to come in through long A, then they moved back, and so they were moving towards B, but it's a short A approach.
Nice shot by Olaf.
Yeah, they need a KGB to get that pick off. Now Device just makes his own space, taking out Olaf on top of short A, and JW as well. Device with 2.
That's super aggressive. He thought he was late. He thought they were already pushed up toward the elbow, so he actually passed the first angle. That's the most potent spot to hold Cat from. He goes past it, he gets caught. So the bomb goes down. Dupree does catch out Flusha, and again, it's all left to Crims, 1-on-2. Last time, this is exactly when TSM picked up their first round. Very similar situation, but instead he's coming from Catwalk, not CT. Spots up one dropping down. That's Dupree. Not a lot of damage dealt onto him, so he'll still be able to sit back. Not only that, more importantly, gives away his position, but ballsy play as he jumps down, and Dupree gets dropped. So 1-on-1, lots of time. Still a kid up for Crims, but he has to find the shot right now, and he won't. Device gets it.
And that would have been a big, big take if they can get it back. Now Fnatic are in a bad position with their money, as we do have ourselves a quick pause. So we got a moment to think about what was going on, but man, TSM, they're at least finding some rounds now. Like, they were held back for so long by Fnatic, but now they're starting to at least get some rounds together.
The rounds they're getting are still extremely close, though, so the economy is still going to be very, very tight for them. They need to win a round outright, almost. They need to get at least 4, I'd say 3 at the very least, over the finish line in this round if they want to start building back to get momentum going their way. Otherwise, they're going to have to just keep grinding against Fnatic.
Yeah. And I don't think TSM really want to think, hey, we'll just go into the CT round with 3 or 4 rounds. That's not going to be enough for them. They still have to remember what Fnatic did to them just the other week, and like they were really hyper-aggressive. Getting into the sites, always getting those plants down. So TSM, they have to be able to find more rounds than just 3 or 4. And at least for the moment, they're the ones with the weapons advantage. But JW, they just go up through mid. 3 of them together. Device holding back in suicide with that orb.
They have to be careful, because that op could be potentially under threat. Nice nade coming back, but there it is. Device does come out and catch off those players. They were all weakened by that initial spray, but interestingly enough, none of them dropped. So we are at 2-on-2, and again, we talked about we needed 3 to get over the finish line. They've already lost 3 players to these pistols. They will close it out. They will get this round, but they're still going to be quite tight on the money.
Yeah. There's that economic advantage which Fnatic were just pushing for them. They wanted to make sure they could drop as many of these rifles as possible. And potentially, if they could have denied the AWP up, it would have been wonderful. But you're on a proper eco, and you end up taking out 3 players. You're still fine if you're Fnatic.
Oh yeah, no, that's a bit of a win for Fnatic. Obviously, they want more from that, but they've only got to do a little bit of work here to keep TSM broke. So
yep,
that definitely favors them. Dupree trying to flash his way through this smoke at the corner, but nobody up close. So investing the nades for absolutely nothing at this point.
They've all fallen
back. He doesn't know that.
Like they're looking back towards mid doors as well as through short A. Because really, how many times, GW wanting to play catch with a nade? try and switch to a baseball.
This is a lot more catwalk presence than we normally see out of a CT side lately. Fnatic's definitely playing it. It's normally that 3 long push and then a rotate back to middle that we see. As Kerrigan's going to come through, this opens it up, smokes to go out, but Olaf's up close, so if a flash goes deep, it'll be beyond him. That one catches him, as does the second, but here's Crims. Yeah, and they're not going, they're going catwalk.
Yeah, they actually backed up, hoping the Fnatic would rotate down to them and just do the drop players down from the short A, but Pronax stays up there, claims two of the scalps of TSM. And now we're in a 2-on-2 situation. Device at least managed to claim the B side. Oh!
Device, the nerves are definitely showing. That's not common. Luckily, Kerrigan does get that kill, because if the round goes back after a shot like that, it's going to be hard to shake off. Yeah. And he makes up for it. So they'll bring it back to 6-4, but man, Device, get the jitters out now.
Well, the same thing happened to Olaf when he ran up the mid. Didn't get that guy running over through long A. So, yeah, both teams, Orpa's just a little bit off target, but at the same time, 6 rounds to 4. Keeping it close. Again, Fnatic not wanting to spend too much. But you're running this AWP 4 AK and Device every time he's been looking towards his mid. Those jump shots. He's waiting for the sneak out. And yep, there he is. He does the jump up and unable to connect.
Hits the lag though.
There we go.
So Xyp9x took him down on that lag. That first shot missed by a millimeter.
He's playing this AWP like it's a scout.
Flusha tries to peek out. Thought they might be a little bit closer on the back of that flash, or probably that smoke. Kerrigan catches them, so now it's down to only 3 players left, and they're spread out entirely on Fnatic's side, so they're just going to play for damage at this point.
Crims gets the initial hit, sitting on the very edge of the smoke. But it's still a 2-on-4 situation. There should be no problem right now for TSM. They'll get the plant down.
This is a bit of a good momentum comeback now that they've got going, because in the qualifiers, when they beat Fnatic on the maps that they did, this one included, it was all on early starts. 7-0 on Inferno. I think it was something like 6-1 on Dust. So this is a little bit different. They actually have to play from behind, and we haven't seen them have the success against Fnatic when they are playing from behind. So if they can keep this going, this is actually a great performance now from TSM.
Oh. Well, they look pretty good. Device going to pick up JW, and that just leaves Olaf over on long doors, and KGB is right next to him. In fact, even just revealing positions quickly.
And Olaf just wants to do damage.
Yep. Oh, flashes. They're actually coming for him. He's away and safe. So TSM, 5 rounds to 6. Fnatic, we will be going back into a bye again. So the AWP's up for Olaf. JW's going to stick with the M4 for now. And TSM, this is the big test for them. Can they get Fnatic when they're doing a proper bye?
Right now it's really a battle of JW versus Device, as we see in the stats. 15 JW in terms of kills and 13 for Device. The rest, everyone else on single digits still, so these two guys are definitely stepping up. And again, we talked about Device. We said Cajun's the X factor, but it's Device that has to be consistent. So far, so good. One little jittery shot aside.
Yeah. Oh, Fnatic. They try and stack up on the mid doors so they can see up to Cat. Try and play from there, but TSM, they've been given long. Kerrigan will show himself down lower dark. He's the only player over here, though.
Kerrigan got very lucky that bullet came through the box, because it actually dinked him, but it only did 8 damage, so.
So they can at least still keep playing aggressive, but TSM playing sneaky beaky like down this long A, but already Pronax is feeling something's coming. The smoke starts up and he sees a lot from the flash to start with Pronax. She brought down by Xyp9x, which means this bomb site currently belongs to TSM.
And this is a very challenging retake. They do still have Olaf, or JW in the corner. There it is. So he pops out. They have no idea he's there. Bomb does go down, and they still haven't got him. He has to switch to the pistol, but Flush has already jumped up and got Dupree. And what a shot from JW.
And that was Smoke and Mirror's play right there. But Device, the bomb plan is out, but with that all from long,
Kerrigan's going to find the double. Flusha finally silences him, and it's going to have to all be Device now. He misses on the first one, and he gets dropped as a result. So his op, not 100%, that's for sure.
And they do manage to find the bomb.
JW, so sneaky, just sat in the corner, knew they weren't coming up catwalk. He'd already got the call from Pronax. There was 4 on long, so he just had to wait for the retake, and that's exactly what they do.
And Flusha made that perfect though. By jumping up, coming up through the CT spawn ramp area, he made it so that TSM had to look down towards the long area and just keep him distracted, which allowed JW to have that space to enter into what was initially the M4 battle and then in the end a pistol battle. So TSM, they get the plant down, but the retake successful for Fnatic. They go 7 rounds to 5, but there's still a lot of money for both the sides. So we still have full buys. These smokes up mid. This is something which Olaf was playing around with the other night, where he just tries to push up aggressively through the doors, almost like like former Penta player Dennis style.
Oh, JW's gonna get caught. That flash had him. He had nowhere to hide, so KGB picks up the double around the corner. Olaf has to play this from reverse out of CT. Keep in mind also,
he's so blind here though.
And there's no one to boost him. There's no one else there, so he can't go up elevator. He has to wait for them to cross over and hope for something to go horribly wrong on TSM's part.
They're lobbing the mollies up, trying to stop TSM from getting that quick plant down. Maybe just buy some time for the smoke to disappear. Olaf's still permanently flashed.
Well, they also bought time before this bomb could be planted because Device couldn't run on top of the site.
Olaf's revealed.
Crossfire's still in great position as well, though, and there it is. Cajun's going to make it the hat trick. Krims wants to peek out. Cajun is looking away from him, so he should get this kill, and he does. But he's still got 2 more, and Zipnix won't let him go any further. This is a 1-point game. And TSM looking alive on the A site. Not a lot going on at B.
Yeah, you wouldn't have actually thought the TSM were 4 rounds down at the very, very start, and the Fnatic looked like they were going to hit all the shots, and TSM just couldn't find anything. And then a couple of rounds get back together, and all of a sudden, TSM looking absolutely wonderful. You are right, though. The main focus has been over on the A side. Initially, in the first 3 to 4 rounds, it was always the 3 players coming over to B, just like the way they're doing right now. And then they look towards the A side. So KGB is going to keep the attention over on A, but they're moving in very quickly. The bomb carrier's already moved up on B, while KGB makes as much noise as he can on long doors. And here is that movement. Zipnix already with the first one. He brings down Krims. There's one on the backside that needs to be to flush him out in the air. Zipnix brings down Olaf. And Device with the AWP. There's no way to easy rotate through CT spawn, but with the smoke, it's going to cut him out. Pronax also getting caught at the double doors in mid. HB just waits it out. Kerrigan with the extra help, and this is a great entry from TSM. The one time you say, hey, they're not really going for B, and it's a flawless entry.
What I was going to point out was actually that they finally switched up their A, so great read, or gamble rather, perhaps even, from TSM, because they did go for that 3-push A. Get out to the corner early. Of course, they did have the pistols, and then one player fell back. Interestingly, didn't go mid, went toward Catwalk nonetheless, but they did change up their A. And TSM go B the exact round they did it.
Yep.
And we're on 7-7. Last round of the half, everyone's going to force out absolutely everything they can, and that means that Pronax has to go with the FAMAS. JW only with that CZ75 and a Swag 7 and Olaf Meister for the FAMAS as well.
Yeah, they've basically dipped into the barrel and grabbed the best of what they could find. Who's going to have the first round advantage coming into halftime? Fnatic, they hold in tight. They've already blown their Molotovs, but they've got a couple of smoke splashes and decoy nade, that's all.
And Flusha is playing at the mid door with the shotgun. So as soon as they come through, they haven't really been playing anyone up close. In fact, there was Krims there to support it. He's going to fall off it, but
it's only been maybe 2 or 3 times they've done it, though. Like, really, TSM moving in through the mid, it hasn't been a regular occurrence. Instead, they keep looking towards the short. They keep looking towards long A. And now the spam starts to begin. JW loses long A.
And this leaves Flush in an awkward position. They know he's there now.
Yeah, he's actually
spamming
pushed
that
up.
away.
He's actually pushed up to try and defend against it, but now, sorry, Pronax, he's going to go down.
Kerrigan needs to watch his back on this cat push, though.
Krims has the best angle here, but he's not going to be able to find anyone. Again, the smoke nades are perfect. You do have the Molotovs, which are now keeping Krims out from moving up through the CT ramp, but it's also stopping TSM from getting the quick plant. It is down now as Kerrigan, oh, that's a big hit. Flusher, now he's got the advantage to come in through short A, a 3-on-4 situation.
The problem is, though, that's the only shot that shotgun can really be effective at this point, because as soon as he comes around the corner, it's a range game.
He's got his M4, though. He picks up the M4 that was in the hands of the T. So you managed to get that little range, but Dupree sitting up in the high ground. It's going to be TSM. They take out the last round of the first half, and they move into the second half with just that 1 round advantage.
And this started from 5-0 for Fnatic, so excellent work for TSM to pull this back. T-side specifically, again, in the era with Kerrigan as the leader. This has been the first map that started to go back T-sided for them, and it definitely shows they consistent play. Again, Device all the way through. KGB stepped up late in the half when other people started to trail, and great performance. Again, A site looked a little weak for Fnatic, so they're going to have to be aware of that moving forward in the tournament, but now it's their turn to go on the attack.
Yeah, and we'll see where TSM can try and punch into, I say punch into Fnatic. They're on the defense, but then again, see where they try and hold the line. Fnatic, they instantly move over to the A side to start with. So 2 players out long A for TSM, 2 in the B. Wait, why am I seeing 6?
Decoy.
Decoy, you're right. No, there's 6 dots moving on the map, on the mini map.
There's 6 dots actually moving. Interesting.
Yeah, thought I was the only person tripping. Are they playing with a bot?
But no less, they do give up long A.
Oh,
so they're going to play for this retake. There is a slight gap. They'll call that they're over. Kerrigan knows it, and he actually takes full advantage. Nice shot catching on Pronax.
KGB to combine with it too, so already this push up from Fnatic. They do get the bomb plant down, but can they hold it? JW, KGB still popping around like a rabbit. Bunny hop it all the way. Might want to try and boost him up. Crims can't take out the short A, and that's going to be a successful retake from TSM.
Important to note, though, bomb does go down. So Fnatic could go for a full save right now and get guns out a little bit earlier on than the typical 3 rounds. So TSM needs to take full advantage. They can't get ecoed right here. It'll be even worse. The round will just completely fall apart. The economy will get completely trashed, and Fnatic will walk to the end. Look at this shot. The first one through that smoke was brilliant on Pronax.
It's like somehow he finds an airbox just to sit on so he can maintain his composure and get the shots. So Fnatic.
And this is interesting because they've gone for 4 rifles. They're not going for the SMG, so this is an expensive investment, from TSM right now.
They cannot afford to lose this round. Because if they do, the momentum swing is going to be massive against them.
And it's only P250s against them, so no Tech 9s. Still a small investment, but not nearly as much. And that means Fnatic know that they want to get these rifles out regardless.
Where is Fnatic heading to? They started up looking through upper dark. Now it looks like it's going to be a switch over through to short A. While leaving one floater on long A.
There's definitely 2 schools of thought on going for the rifles early. They know Fnatic got the bomb down, so they're likely going to have guns out in the next round. So that way they won't have to upgrade. But at the same time, if they lose any of these players with the rifles, they're going to be hurting when they do finally go into our gun round.
Make the call, KGB. He's already managed to tag up all of them. Finally, there's some kills coming the way of TSM. 3 of them to go down. And this push up through short A, not successful enough. In fact, not successful at all. There will be one player. Zipnix actually gets picked off at the last moment.
And that's what, okay, so it was the FAMAS.
Yeah.
So that's my point. They needed to keep all 3 M4s up because now they're going to see AKs come out on Fnatic's side. So this means they don't have to upgrade. They can actually get the guns out. But again, if they lost anyone, it would have changed everything. And in fact, JW's gone straight for the op. To glass cannon, though. No armor, no nades.
He needs
He's
that
desperate.
mid-pick.
Yeah, they're going for a desperate play right now.
He needs this mid-pick. He's actually holding back.
He may still get it, though.
Yeah. It's like he's trying to keep himself secret.
That's Device. Oh, just misses it. So he does cross back over. This favors the A side defensively right now. 4 players on the right side of middle. It's only Dupree that's over in toward B site right now.
At the same time, though, it won't take long for Fnatic. If they can get through the mid doors, smoke up the CT spawn, getting up there won't be too hard. That's why Device is actually now starting to back it up. So they got the 2 players in a B and rotating another one in through CT. At the same time, then Fnatic move towards the A side. The bomb is still a long way back. It's almost over on long A. But they're seeing if they can get themselves in on the A side to start with. Then they can potentially take the bomb over to B. That's why the floater's over there. And there's the first kill. Cajun B is going to drop, so Crims opens it up. JW looking for that long A player, not going to find him.
And very smartly, Olaf goes directly to Cat. He knows there has to be a long player waiting for him. He has the bomb. He goes down. It throws it back TSM's way. So he'll go the path that's already been trampled down by his teammates. Join them. The bomb's going to go down, and it has to be a strong and fast retake from TSM.
Yep. But how quick do they want to move? At the same time, they just lost Zipnix. It might be worth just saving the M4s because where Flusher is, Device will be able to shut him down.
And that's exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah, they're backing up. They managed to just have the 2 M4s. Save for the next round. It's too difficult to get the retake with just the 3 of them.
And Kerrigan's going to pick up the AK that was dropped in tunnels. So they will get 3 rifles out of this, but
Fnatic is trying to hunt him a little bit. So Pronax is watching through the CT spawn. So they know where they're holding. Because they control everywhere else on the map, Fnatic, apart from just up to the side.
The important aspect as well, JW survives. So might have been glass cannon, but now he'll already have the op and can fully invest in. Oh, Olaf does actually get Device at the end, so 1 less rifle to work with on the CT side. So a small victory at the end as well for Fnatic, and it's a 2-point game with them in the control right now.
That's an annoying thing as well, because you manage to save the M4 and then you die after the clock expires too. Just frustration more than anything else. So TSM, they still hold the round advantage. JW going to get aggressive with this op, looking down towards long, and he opens up on Cajun B.
That's the JW we're used to. Hybrid op, get aggressive on the peaks. Patch not slowing him down at all, and now Crims is going to secure into the lower tunnels. Knows Kerrigan's directly above as he does catch JW, so op is down.
He doesn't know there's 2 other players. Oh, nice flash. Helping him up in mid, can go for the kill. Look for the second, going to claim it as well. Crims through the double doors.
Excellent flash. Great teamwork from Fnatic. Kerrigan, all that's left, does have this AK, and does he want to go for this or not? That's the question.
Right now, there's almost no choice, because he knows he's going to get hunted. It is a 3-on-1. And the smoke holds him out.
And I think he'll sit and just look for exits. He knows they will look. You're right. They should at this point.
They know where he is.
A bank, but he can't go through on this. 3-on-1, no point. Keep the AK. Start building back into the game, but he's going to have to be careful. Crims knows. Crims is still checking. And he's going to get him as well. What a round from Crims. 2 on the entry, 1 on the close, and now it's 1 point.
Fnatic were also able to pick up that ult. Pronax rotated all the way back around. I was wondering, because they could have just potentially moved Pronax in through the long A, but they knew the ult, but just sitting on top of mid. So the better thing was grab it, and then they'll be ready for the next round. Keep as much money in their accounts as possible.
Talk about timing on that replay too. Device just 2 steps behind when he was already focused into the corner, so that could have turned things around. So double op setup for TSM this time. Cajun B and Device. Kerrigan's out toward Pit. It's actually going to be Cajun B that's holding on that corner, so if they go up catwalk, he'll have the strong angle from the car to hold it when they get to the elbow. Has to just be worried at that point that if one player does drop into CT, your rotators have to be in position early, or you quickly get overwhelmed and pushed back so far into long that you actually give up the site before you can go for the damage. So now there's going to have to be a strong read. That's exactly where they're trying to go right now as well, on the catwalk. So Xyp9x has to be the player that watches this drop if they go for it.
At the same time, you do have Cajun B just watching over from over on car. So if anyone's going to come up through catwalk, the chance of them being able to get a successful drop-off is very, very low. They have to hug the wall to do it. But this is a proper commitment. This is a proper commitment to A. The smoke is keeping him back for now. Xyp9x and Cajun B just being as protective as they possibly can.
Yeah, there's your pre-flash. So there you go.
Yep.
They do drop it. That's all you have to do is bounce it
it's
once.
only one, though.
And now
Crims.
he's forced back. So Crims gets it. Cajun B doesn't get it. He was already forced back. This means Xyp9x in the corner has to come up big on the Goose. And so far, his feathers are going to get flocked
Like
everywhere
Kerrigan.
as Kerrigan drops as well. JW with him onto the op, and it's all left to Device and Dupree, and they're a long way away over on the B site.
Yeah, it's Device with no armor. He's that, again, glass cannon AWP. So it's impossible for TSM to get back into this side up against the 3 of Fnatic. And Fnatic, that initial kill you got onto Cajun B, that opened up everything. As you said, Xyp9x, he had to go huge or go home. And then Kerrigan tried to give him the crossfire coming up through long A, but they couldn't get it all at the right time. And again, we find this position, which happened at the start of the half, the first half that was, where TSM just find themselves being picked off one by one again. Of course, it was different the last time around because they were on T side now trying to push in. Device.
Oh, run, buddy, run.
He pulled out. Away. He potentially could have got that kill. He pulled out of the AWP at the last moment, out of the scope. Man, how big has JW been? 21-114.
I mean, next best on the team, Olaf 13, and he hasn't exactly been quiet at times either. So, I mean, he's your difference man. If you look at TSM, everyone actually are well grouped. 15, 14, 13, 12. All close together, but again, Device hasn't really kept up in that regard.
So 10 rounds apiece. Fnatic.
JW.
He already managed to find that pick on Cajun B. Device from short A, able to stop that movement from Fnatic coming out through upper dark into lower dark. Kerrigan's also down here, but he's only got a pistol in hand. He'd love to grab that rifle.
He may catch off one here because they've already had aggression and fallen.
He's probably actually wondering where they're coming from. TSM moved everyone to A. B is completely exposed. Or if Fnatic knew this, Pronax and Flusher and Olaf would just run into B, plant the bomb down, and TSM would then be forced into a retake. There's that AK now into the hands of Kerrigan. But can he get the kill on Olaf? Yep, Olaf will bring him down. And already JW. He could look towards Device on the A site, but B currently belongs to the rest of his team. Device now realizes it's into an AWP battle. So there's no one else over here on B, so Device will be able to bring down JW. But where do you now come if you're TSM?
You don't.
Or you don't. You just hold back?
Yeah, B's too hard to retake in this position. You got 2 outside the wall. Tunnels have already been contested, and actually, there was an opportunity strictly because Olaf went on the chase early, but you're not going to come up tunnels without getting a trade or a perfect headshot, and already Olaf showed that he was capable of shutting down Kerrigan when he tried to do exactly that with the AK, and without a player at least to distract the 2 inside the site, you're not coming through the wall that easily.
Yeah. TSM should still be very, very happy. Get the kill on Olaf, pick up the second ult for the next round. So, nice for them. Dupree. I think JW might be getting a little bit frustrated at the moment. But they are still a round ahead now. So, first map up against TSM here on Dust2.
And no gun rounds going the way of TSM. That's the important thing to note, is that they haven't been able to shut down the firepower since Fnatic fought on round 3 of this half. They haven't had an answer at all, and they're losing the picks that are crucial. Again, Cajun B on that drop play from Crims, that opened up A. It looked like they had a good crossfire set up, but when Cajun drops and there's no support from Xyp9x, he's too far back onto Goose.
How quick?
Things up.
How quick is Pronax moving in?
Good flashes.
They use the double flashes from Olaf to try and keep TSM out. Olaf is separated from the rest of his team, and there goes Pronax. So long A push fail.
And they knew Pronax pushed up. So with Olaf still on the backside, it was easy to retain at least the first kill. And now they've got to work with this, because this is the first time they've had the opening pick in a while. Yeah, Xyp9x is down to 5 HP, but a man advantage is a man advantage. They've got to utilize this to full effect. As Crims tries to spam through middle and find anyone, but there's not really anyone up close, in fact.
Yeah,
it's a really passive hold on middle right now.
And obviously even really revealing an aggressive position or not, but it shows that Fnatic, like, you kind of knew Fnatic was going to go for the short A to slash mid doors anyway.
Well timed to throw out the fire.
It's the perfect delay. Throw it if you got it.
Flush is going to throw this smoke toward mid. He just wants to bide the time with these rotators. And it does. Xyp9x is already looking, thinking it might be a push, but there's the call back. So Cajun's made the right call, and he'll actually hold station.
That's because there's a smoke on short A.
But again, watch for this flash. Olaf and JW, if they drop one player and that CT spawn person, who is that down there?
They brought down Xyp9x. JW was able to get the upper hand, but KGB gets the return kill. Flusher now knows he can move up through that CT spawn, but Carrigan's still over on long A. Sees the 2 on the side. Now he can get that crossfire over Flusher, hiding in the corner, and Carrigan forced to actually engage into Olaf as well as taking out Crims. He might even just go for the straight defuse. 5 seconds, Flusher is on the run. It's a one-on-one, but there's no time for Flusher to reach him. At 0 seconds, the defuse is there.
Great hold. Flusher at least gets the consolation, but again, that whole hold on the A site could have been a lot tighter. It's Xyp9x who's inside CT spawn. As soon as they come around the corner on Catwalk, he has to hold the first player to allow KGB to basically, if you're going to have the op on the reverse side by car, it's your angle to control unless you get a player low that it gets far too close for comfort, and then you have to fall back. If Xyp9x can control that, KGB can control Catwalk a lot easier, and that's been their problem so far.
And Carrigan, big play for his team. Huge play for his team.
And even Device loses the battle against Flusha, but just held him there long. I mean, this was millimeters. Yeah. That was as close as you'd like to tie this back
It was
up.
1 second. That was like if he had an extra actually 3 seconds, he would have been able to run himself up through the ramp and get the kill. But time is not their friend, and we lock it up, keeping it even Stevens, 11-11. As we go into the 23rd round, and JW can't get the initial tag on the movements to be.
Man, he had the perfect spawn considering they didn't smoke it.
That's a quick flash, but Dupree. She did a quick call, so the A player is already starting to move over. So they're watching closer towards that CT spawn area. But Fnatic haven't made up their minds. That bomb's still back at T spawn.
It's full commitment from Kerrigan at long, too. Like going all the way past the pit into the corner. That's full commitment. Even if he wants to cross over late and they have a lurk player watching him, it makes it hard to get back to A.
Well, he's got Cage and B giving him the cover. It's easy enough. And they're actually going to pull him off the position. In fact, they're going to push him in towards the doors and allow Cage and B to move back behind the A side.
Again, Xyp9x is the guy that has a lot of pressure on him right now because he's holding the mid. They're playing at 2 and B to play passively, and that means he has his timing to go back towards CT to do exactly what we talked about in the last round. Has to be spot on. Even if Dupree comes out to middle, that gives them a little bit more leeway to lead off toward A, but so far they haven't done that.
Here comes that flash onto the A side. The smoke comes down at the perfect time from TSM, though, so Fnatic, they don't really see much Cage and B. He's seeing Molotovs flying out from short A, but who's going to get the initial frag? It's Cage and B onto JW, and now they can try and lock him up on top of Catwalk. And in fact, Cage and B taking it too, looking for the third, can't actually hit the target. Even though that target is blind as a bat, Krim's caught in the corner. There's Cage and B for the third, looking for the fourth, looks on target, but going to be off. Either way, it is going to be a flawless round for TSM. Not a single weapon lost.
So that time's Xyp9x stays alive, gets on the ramp, slows them down, and Cage and B actually changed the angle entirely. They were not expecting him to be that close. Perfect hold. And again, Xyp9x was there. All he has to do is be there. They can't drop down. That means Cajun doesn't have to worry about both angles, and he can just go to work, and that's exactly what he does. Cajun 3. And they're back into the lead.
These opening flashes and smokes and Molotovs from Fnatic, every time they try and come into that A site through short, it just seems to be completely ineffective. Fnatic are moving the positioning too well. And their timing on their smokes and mollies, yep, perfect. So TSM, they hold tight while Fnatic, they have gone for the full AKs apart from just one extra Galil. And they want the initial pick. Olaf couldn't really do anything. In fact, long A, it almost feels like Fnatic haven't had any real presence there at all. So then instead they try and come mid.
It's the opposite of what we saw in the last half with TSM constantly bombarding onto the A site. B's been actually quite quiet the entire time. All right,
Now they are out mid, slowly out mid. Smoke comes out late. That gives Cajun one shot through it. He takes down Pronax, makes good on the first opportunity, and that's the only opportunity he'll get.
That was nice.
But Device is going to make his own. Pushes out. They still think he's at box, and he switched to the left.
He pushed himself out through the side of the smoke, so we saw it perfectly. And TSM, they hold the gun round.
That's such a shuffle in the smoke. Yep, Device, that was brilliant. Just to slide over to the left, they hyper-focus onto the boxes, and he picks up a double as a result, and now they've got a 2-round lead and a bit of a comfortable economy, at least not so much in their wallets, but going against them from Fnatic, they're not looking too wealthy.
And just enjoying the way TSM are playing this CT side. It's been so tight. Cajun B now gets to be the man to look for Olaf, trying to push aggressively, but Olaf, well, he will go into the doors, but he doesn't want to go much further than that. This is only a pistol round for them, so they know they don't have the weapon advantage. That's why TSM, they're looking to keep 2 players over on that long ace. They could just slaughter Fnatic in the door choke point. But where's Fnatic go? So they look towards mid. Device is in the perfect position for that. Flashes up the 2 mid players again. Well, they are still going to persist with it. It's Fnatic. Yeah, look at him come up. Pronax looking for the opening. Device going to reveal him to start with, then throws the block nade.
And considering this is a save, they've given up a lot of mid control. There was actually a chance for a split on the B, and if the Pistols had overwhelmed the 2 players defending, both Dupree and Device, then there was a chance for them to walk in, because everyone else was all the way out toward long. Fortunately, Fnatic didn't take that opportunity. They're going to walk back up cat, and it's going to be standard formation. Cajun B this time, he misses that shot, does get the one up close. That's the important kill. And now it's just going to be a clean anti-eco from this point, or is it? Cajun does go down, but they'll grab the op.
And TSM, you lose only 1, you're 14 rounds to 11. 2 rounds required to take map number 1. And Fnatic, they need some kind of answer on this T side. They need to find a way to get into the sights of TSM. When was the last time we even saw a bomb plant?
It is a streak of hot and cold right now. Fnatic started this half off very well after winning that first gun round, and it looked quite comfortable. TSM hadn't found anything, but that slight adjustment today against Xyp9x being able to stay alive a little bit longer, Cajun changing the angle, it's made a lot of difference. And Fnatic this time are putting a lot more presence in the tunnel, so maybe they'll look to be...
The TSM put more presence into the mid doors. Device is waiting there for the flash. He just turns. He only picks up 1, however. Fnatic actually getting the advantage. Coming in through the mid doors, and now they're on a 4-on-3 situation. Dupree holding on the box. He's got support coming in from Xyp9x and through CT spawn, but Flusher already on the side brings down Dupree. B side belongs to Fnatic. This is their best chance right now to get themselves back into this map.
And Kerrigan just shot over the head, or pardon me, Dupree shooting over the head at double doors made all the difference. He picks up that lineup triple. This round's over. Instead, now they've got B. So Plant's going to come out finally. First one in a long time, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and TSM have no desire to try and contest this. They just hold back. If Fnatic want to try and hunt him, sure, let him go for it. In fact, Olaf, who's the man on 3 HP, at least gas out the fact that Xyp9x is in the pit, but there's no way he's going to enter into an AK versus an M4 battle with 3 HP.
It'll be interesting to see how much they do want to push, because they are going to reset a 4-round money bonus that goes their way right now. However, they have been doing decent damage to TSM, with the exception of the last anti-eco. And that means it's still worth it to get the guns out of their hand, especially when they're this close to these 15 rounds. And Xyp9x is going to find Olaf. That was your 3 HP player. Yep. And that's all that's going to happen. He's not going to repeat. He knows the op's there.
It's their Fnatic. Money to buy. Big rounds to come. TSM, they've still got money in the bank. So all they need to do is just hold 1 more round at least up against Fnatic. Force all the pressure into Fnatic. Push it to potentially overtime. And TSM, well, they commit 3 players to long A. At the same time, Fnatic, their commitment comes in through upper dark. Again, but this is what they've been doing for almost the last 3-4 rounds. It's just 4 players up into upper dark. Then they basically put the brakes on. Run slowly, move slowly in towards that mid, then come in through the doors. Smoke up through the CT spawn, and then come into the B side. But this time, Xyp9x, well, he gets the heavy tag into JW, down by 46 HP.
Oh, almost gets him on the secondary spam as well.
Yep, there's so much flash, there's so many smokes. And the rest of the rotations are coming. There's 1 player waiting in mid, and that's going to be Crims to shut down Xyp9x. Device still on the side. Olaf battling up against him. He's not expecting the second player though. Crims comes through. Pronax can't clean up the back box. And Dupree forced to switch over to that USP, and he's able to wrap it up. JW will drop, and TSM with 3 map points up against Fnatic. And Fnatic, not a lot of money to work with here.
Excellent hold. That time, the passive two-player in B position works brilliantly. They don't leave Dupree out and let Xyp9x get in position. They just let him fire away from far. Again, you look at someone like LDLC or Nip, they play that second man at B in mid early, let Happy, and I said LDLC, in Envious' case, to get up onto the boxes and play it a little bit closer. Instead, they let Xyp9x play it from the backside. He does good damage, and then it was just a hold that was well executed. Dupree this time firing through the smoke. Can't spot up onto Flusha, but Flusha's going to come right through, and that nade will give him away, but he falls. Smartly falls, because that was a slaughter.
Yep. So Fnatic, what have you got in your magic bag of tricks? Again to the mid. Nope. They're pushing up through short instead this time around. But TSM, with that smoke into the mid, they have already pulled one player off A, but with the 2 on long, it doesn't take much to rotate back. In fact, Cajun B is already there, back behind the A side. The flashes might come, but at the same time the flashes arrive, that smoke comes in again. Fnatic have the small little crevice, but it's not big enough and not on the right angle.
Yeah, debatably actually could favor them, because then your op still has the shot on the corner.
Yep. And that's all KGB's been waiting for. He's wanting Fnatic to at least get a little bit of momentum up, get out onto Catwalk, and then they start carving them up.
Again, though, Xyp9x is still focusing middle, and they're already around the corner on Catwalk, so this is where Xyp9x needs to make sure if a player drops, he has to take him down immediately, and it's a double! He lines them up, and Cajun B is going to get 2. And Xyp9x, there it is, does catch Olaf when he tries, and it's all left to 1, and that is Crimson. It's not going to be enough. So from behind, after being down 5-0 early, TSM take map 1. Dust2.
Man, their CT side was so tight, so tight. There was just no way for Fnatic to come in. They tried mid doors, they tried in through short A. There was no heavy push into B, but they never had any presence in long A.
And again, I give full credit to TSM for playing the 2 directly in B. We don't see a lot of teams do it as much lately. They're a lot easier to get that 1 pick outside. Now they're going to say, all right, we're going to let you come all the way through. You've got to get into B. You essentially have to get through the wall from mid to B, and that's hard to do, especially if Xyp9x can stay efficient. Again, once he started being a little more efficient over toward A, that's when things came back to TSM. That's when Cajun B could go off with the op, and that's what ultimately swayed the second half to go back to TSM. So well done to them. They pick up the first map, but we're not done, and of course, we've got 3 experts who've got a lot more to say about that game than we do.
So let's go to them.
Well, thanks a lot for that. Kind words. Apparently we know more than them. That's a good start. We're getting some...
Yeah, especially from play-by-play casters. I mean, very magnanimous of them, I feel. You know.
I thought you were
I'm not here for my golden voice, believe it or not.
I was trying to set you up for a Toby one joke there, and you totally didn't take the bait, mate.
I would never do something like that.
Yeah, I know. You're a class act. All right, so look, speaking of class acts, what a great start to the tournament. Absolutely epic map, had back and forth. Fnatic starting strong, TSM coming back into it, and of course winning it 16-12. So I'm going to start with you, Natu. You said right at the top of the show, if TSM were going to take maps against Fnatic, all 5 of the players had to show up. And they absolutely did. I mean, it's real hard to pick a star performer from them, but give me a breakdown of how they did.
I mean, it was nice to see that their mental strength was up there, because like we said, they were down at the beginning, like 5-0, and then they just grinded it out after that, and they managed to get enough rounds on T side. Even though I figured around 6 would be maybe their golden mark, but they managed 8, which is a really good score nowadays on Dust2. I mean, like I pointed out before the match, it just came down to individual plays. We saw both teams, players from both teams coming with big plays, but then it was KGB that we pointed out before. He had some big plays there for TSM. Also Carrigan, like pretty much every one of them just had a solid match there on Dust2.
One of the things I want to pick your brains about, okay, so Fnatic started out strong. I think they went 5-0 up, right? And then eventually they fade. Now, the captains for these 2 teams, obviously you've got Pronax for Fnatic and Carrigan for TSM. There's been question marks about whether Pronax is bringing enough in just in terms of firepower with his fragging ability within the team. But here it also looks like Carrigan's read the game better as a captain, because he's adapted to what Fnatic were doing and they've got stronger as the game has gone on. What are your thoughts about the 2 captains and what they were bringing to the table?
Yeah, well, that's the thing as well. People often... It's weird in CS, because I've noticed people actually have a tendency now to give a lot of credit to the in-game leader on the CT side, as well, as though he calls every setup and he tells everyone to go there. I've always thought CT's in general a bit more individualistically played. Maybe you might see a read, like Pronax might say, okay, like the way they're setting up, I think it's going to be like a fast catwalk or whatever, but it's very rare that they actually micromanage where the players will go. That's, in fact, if you've ever listened to the POV stream that they had at the last major, Fnatic actually tend to be quite an open team like that. Like someone will just say at the beginning of the round, I'm going to this spot, and the rest of them will adapt around it, especially JW, obviously, he's the famous example. So I don't think that, I wouldn't put too much blame on Pronax there. I will say, like, I think Karrigan was doing a really good job T-side there, because one thing they managed to identify was they really got it so that when they were doing that catwalk attack, they would get the whole site free to themselves with Fnatic pulled back with like 4 or 5 people alive. That's not supposed to happen. If you get into that site, you're supposed to definitely lose 1 or 2 people. There's supposed to be time for the guys to retake. And every single time the site was taken, the A site, there was no chance even for a proper retake. They were always just like slowly coming up through smokes, and they could never even get the entries. So I actually thought the T side was way too strong from TSM now. That's the thing, because Fnatic are famed for how strong their CT side was. Once you've already given them only 7 CT rounds, it was going to be very, very difficult all the way through. Even JW going crazy couldn't even get them in that game.
And I'm glad you brought up JW there, Duncan, and I'll point it out to you as well. What I observed, I mean, you're the expert, you can certainly tell me if this was wrong, but I think recently, you know, JW is one of those players. He is a high-risk, high-reward kind of player. He's a bit of a wild card, like we talked about with Cage and B at the top of the show. Well, it was very much hit rather than miss this time. So I was surprised, because I thought when he started hitting his shots and going for the picks and playing aggressively and actually landing the shots, I thought, well, this is Fnatic are going to be home and dry, because JW's kind of almost the question mark in the team sometimes. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, it's JW, I think it was pretty much JW we normally see him. He was hitting his shots, he was making the plays he usually does. But I would still give the credit to TSM and the way they played. It just came down to them playing better individually over all of Fnatic on Dust2. Yeah.
I think we actually saw in this particular game here, one of the things when this AWP nerf came in, like the moving speed while you're scoped in, people actually tried, people who were in favor of it said like, great, well, because, you know, people like JW were abusing that gun, like they would peek out really quickly and take all these shots. You've seen there, the AWP nerf, that's not who it affected. It's not JW it affected. It affected like Kenny S, Guardian, who would be scoped in and then they'd take an AWP battle. JW's style was always come out unscoped, instantly see you and really quickly scope in and fire. So that hasn't nerfed him at all. You saw on that map there, it's the same old JW. So if that was really what you were annoyed about, you went the wrong way around fixing it. So I don't think that affected him really.
Yeah, and the best players are always going to be able to adapt as well. And I think Fnatic is one of those teams that has always been open to changes like this. They've always just sort of used those changes in their favor instead of it being a hindrance for them.
Well, they're going to need to adapt as we move into the second map, which of course is going to be Inferno. Now, Duncan, you talked about this right at the top of the show. We talked about how they have this great record on it. And this should be easy, comfortable territory for them, right?
Well, the thing is, this is actually an interesting kind of pattern you can notice in the history of Counter-Strike. Being a dominant team isn't just like having great players like Crims or Olaf M and having them be in their prime. That's like an initial condition to be one of the best. But what makes you a dominant team, a team that can win more events than all your peers, is also like you need a little bit of luck in terms of the maps that you want to play. Like if you're in a world, okay, so TSM's best map is Nuke. Well, they never get to play it against most of the teams. Envies is going to ban it, Fnatic's going to ban it. So that hurts you. You're not getting your home map in the series. But almost every single top team likes to play Inferno. And that's Fnatic's best map. So that means they're always in the best of 3 in the first 2 maps, getting a chance usually to play their best map. So that's almost ensuring they can get that one. And then they know, right, now we just need one of the other 2. So that's also what's helping them. Not only their best team, but they've got a great matchup. So this is a problem here for TSM, is you've just got the win on Dust2. Like, okay, guys, let's close this out in 2. Let's not even let it go to a third map. But now you have to let them play a map that, yes, you're good on Inferno, but Fnatic's the best on Inferno. Now, I think it's the same story again for TSM. I don't know what side they start on. I don't know how that works at this tournament, but if they can make it so that they limit Fnatic's CT rounds, that's when now they have a chance to win. Because again, Fnatic are not one of the best T-side teams in the world. They have all this talent. They have amazing players like JW, Olaf M, but actually they're not that crazy on T-side. They rely on minimum 10 rounds CT, and then they don't have to work with so much on T-side. So again, if you're TSM, it's mainly your T-side that will decide whether you win, because we already know TSM has a really strong CT side. That's why once they got 8 rounds on T-side on Dust2, they were like, right, this is ours to lose at this point. We just have to play standard pretty much.
So you alluded to something when we were breaking this down and going through the veto, that you wanted to see how they were going to play Banana. Would Fnatic play aggressively, or would they play passively? Now, I think they're a little bit rusty at the moment. You know, we got to give them some credit in that regards, that they are coming from a big hiatus after they won the major, and they're feeling their way back into it. Is that going to play on their minds a little bit? Do you think they'll play passively on that basis?
I don't think that's going to be something they will think about, really. I mean, I'm pretty sure they have a read on TSM on their T side, so I'm expecting Fnatic to play aggressive on Banana just for the fact that, like I said, TSM, they have some pretty good tactics going towards B. If you give TSM Banana, they're going to have some pretty good execution. They're going to be really hard to stop.
So tell us what constitutes an aggressive play on Banana. Imagine I know nothing about Counter-Strike. I'm sure that isn't a stretch for you.
It's basically you smoke down Banana from CT spawn all the way down to the entry to Banana for the Ts, and that's going to effectively make it harder for them to get an entry. And then you have two guys playing Banana from the CTs. They're going to probably use some Molotovs, pop flashes, and peek, and just take the duels there, and sort of just take that area of the map out of the T's possibilities, basically, is what it is.
Well, I mean, to tie into what I was saying before, not only was like Inferno the linchpin of the Fnatic dynasty of all these tournaments they won, this era of winning the majors and all these tournaments, but they also had the extra factor to put them over the top of having the best players at a position, which was the B side. They had the best B side players in the world. And that whole dynamic meant you just could not get into that site. And part of it was they are the best at understanding the timing of how to use the grenades. It's not just like, listen, Crimson is amazing at holding spots and knowing which angle to take. Olafem's a really skilled player at rotating. That's all great. Every team can do that. But what makes them different is their timing on, like, okay, when the terrorists are slowly setting up to come into that B site, they know exactly when to use like the smoke, when to use the grenade, when to use the Molotov, just to delay the terrorists, so that then eventually when the terrorists do have to make their move on a B, it can only be B. It can't be you pushing a B, and if you get a kill, you pull back and then you split the defense and spread it apart. They were famous when the old smoke was in, where it lasted like twice as long. They could literally, if they knew you wanted to set up for B, they could hold you off for 45 seconds. They'd throw one smoke, they'd wait, they'd throw a Molotov, you're not going to run through fire, they'd wait, they'd throw another smoke. Now this sounds very easy, like, well, I could do that, I could just do it in order. No, because if you do that and they're not going to go B, you just wasted all your smokes, all your Molotovs, and that's expensive, and now they're going to go A anyway. They would do it when they knew you wanted to go B, and it would just frustrate teams. That's why teams started playing slower versus them, and then that played into their hands. They were getting even more rounds, and when you play slow as terrorist on Banana, on an Inferno, that's almost like the kiss of death right there.
Yeah, it makes it a lot harder when you have, 20 seconds to play with, and you don't really have any options but just to comment or whatever you were doing previously. Yeah, that is true with the smokes and stuff also, but we've seen a lot of teams actually just gambling on running through CT Molotovs, which are actually, they make less damage than the T Molotov. So you see actually a lot of teams are opting to take the gamble of going through those Molotovs.
I mean, Envious is a good example. They're a team they'll just go through if they see one there.
For sure, because I mean, that's the only choice you pretty much have there. You just wasted like all that round doing nothing. So that's the gamble you got to take.
And we talked about Fnatic not being a great T side. You need to have a great T side on Inferno to really get enough rounds to kind of get you over the top, especially if you're starting as T. So how do they approach this tactically? I mean, what are we likely to expect from Fnatic if they do start on the terrorist side?
Well, I mean, for me, Fnatic has never been super heavy tactical team in a way. They rely a lot on their individuals making it happen. They're going to have a set play, but then it's just all going to come down to players like JW and Olafmeister and those guys making those plays work. So, I mean, they're just going to go into it, like, basically reset what happened on Dust2. If they have to start on T side, fair enough. They're going to look for getting the perfect pistol round and then getting TSM's head, getting him, winning those duels and taking those duels with no fear.
What about TSM? I mean, what can they do? We're talking about how Fnatic are the best on this map. What can TSM realistically do to take this series 2-0? What needs to happen?
Well, like I say, because I see the weakness on this particular map in terms of the Fnatic T side, well, the first thing they can do is if they start CT side, TSM, just put up a very strong CT side yourself then you're going to kind of put the pressure on Fnatic that they need to know, hey, we probably still need to get 4 or 5 rounds to be certain of this. This isn't the era when you can always get 13 if you're Fnatic, because that's what Fnatic's going to rely on, is that, okay, no matter what we get on T side, we can always get it done on CT. Well, if they only get like 3 rounds on their T side, suddenly they're under a lot of pressure on their CT side. It's not as easy. So we already know TSM has a very strong CT side. We saw on the map that we just played so far. Once they get the lockdown, they are very, very tough to get entries on. So I think that initially can set up some pressure on Fnatic. The problem is TSM have to get enough that Fnatic have to get a crazy streak on their CT side. If it's a scenario where TSM even gets like just 9 or 10 CT rounds, that might not be enough. That's where they'll be the ones worried when they're going over to their T side, I think.
We saw Device stood out for TSM on Dust2. We did highlight him as well at the top of the show, so it's nice. Our predictions are kind of coming vaguely true, which is good. It means we might get paid this event. But Do you think that he's going to be a factor in this? Because from what I remember about him as a player, this is a guy who does like to be a bit of a wild card, move around. He does like to go aggressive sometimes on CT. He does like to make entry frags. I mean, the fact that he's in good form, is that going to be a factor as we kind of...
Yeah, definitely. He's a mobile opper, and if he needs to hit those shots, it's going to be a key factor on hindering Fnatic's attacks on T-side. And very plain and simple.
Yeah, well, all right, you've answered
But
that
it's
one.
also worth pointing out that when Fnatic was at their best, they weren't actually often facing teams with a lot of AWPers. Like, at the time, the meta was actually mainly 5 rifles because the 2 best teams was Fnatic and Envious, and they were just primarily winning on maps like Inferno, just 5 rifles on T side, 5 rifles on CT side, except the odd time JW picked it up. At the time, Titan had dropped off a bit. They had the issues with Kaylee, obviously. VP weren't exactly at their best, and so NIP didn't have Alu at the time. They would just sometimes use it for Flaren sometimes, and then obviously Makaleli started, but he had a different style of AWPing. So if the thing with TSM is, they've shown a tendency where not only will Device AWP, but Cajun B will AWP, sometimes Carrigan even AWPs. So if they want to do some double AWP setups, now that's an interesting lock there. Actually, Fnatic don't get to play versus double AWP CT setup very often, so that's an interesting wrinkle maybe they can throw in if they've got this confidence. Because I've always said, the thing with Device is when he does start to choke, when it gets to him, the pressure, you notice it just by gun selection. He'll stop buying the AWP, he'll start going back to it. So I like the fact on the map 1 there, sometimes he was even going glass cannon AWP. It showed that, okay, he's at least embracing his strengths and what he's meant to do here. Now, with that said, that's why I want to see what his Device does on this map, because when we say he chokes, it's not like he comes into every semi-final and from round 1 he's just terrible, he can't get a kill. No, it's as the pressure mounts. So yeah, listen, map 1's of best of 3s. I bet you go back in history, you'll find a bunch where he does well. Map 2's okay, he'll still be in there. It's as it gets further and further in the game, as it gets more meaningful. Like if it gets close at the end of map 2, now look if Device is still there. Now look if the pressure gets to him. So that's a little dynamic if you're a fan just to watch out for as the game progresses in map 2 here, because obviously there can still be pressure on the team winning, because if you get into a close game on map 2, part of in the back of your head's like, oh, we can't let this one slip, we've got to get a 2-0 here, because what if it goes to a 3rd map? So that's where the pressure maybe could get to Device.
And thanks for your insight on that. And just quickly, we highlighted a player there for TSM. Let's highlight a player for Fnatic in the interest of being fair and balanced, like Fox News. Who should we be watching on Inferno?
For Fnatic?
Yes.
JW, definitely. That's his home court. Like, he really loves playing Inferno. I think he's said himself on some interviews as well. Again, a really mobile opera, as we know. Doesn't like to use the scope as much. And I think he's going to be an instrumental player for Fnatic to do well. All right, so JW and Device going AWP to AWP, like Requiem for a Dream. Thanks a lot for your thoughts on that, guys. We'll no doubt come back after that map's been played. But now we are going to throw over to our casters. So take it away, Toby and Sadakist.